Hey guys, Pat here, and welcome back to the channel. Today it's going to be a pretty quick, chill video, nothing crazy. We're going to look at this 1965 Fender Tremolux that someone brought in for service. He purchased it online. Apparently it's in good shape, but he hasn't turned it on yet. He wants to just make sure that it's bulletproof before he uses it. So, like a railroad crossing, let's look and listen, and let's take a look at this 1965 Fender Tremolux. All right, I can tell you I like what I see so far. I see original RCA tubes and a changed power cable. That makes me think this is a low miles vehicle that's been well taken care of. My hope is that it still has the blue molded capacitors inside. You know, best case scenario, the electrolytics have been changed, has the original, tone coupling caps, and we can just spray this out, check everything, and we're good to go. I could tell you there's a couple things I don't like. Let's go through it. I don't mind that it has orange drops. I'd rather see the blue molded caps. I think this is just a little bit sloppy. I don't like this here. If the capacitance is right, the voltage is overkill. Not crazy about it. I don't like this. I don't like this. Most of this I can live with, but I'm not... What the fuck? Wait a minute. What? So much for a relaxed video. I'm already cursing, and we got to talk safety. So, what's going on? Why did I freak out? On an AC cable or household wiring, you have a black, which is hot, you have a white, which is neutral, and you have a green, which is ground. And we wire the ground, green, to the chassis so that the chassis is earth grounded. Now, that's almost always green. This cable in his amp is wired differently. And I've seen it before, and I don't want to get into why, because I don't want to say anything wrong, because this is a very serious, important conversation. And this is wired correctly. It's the color code that's wrong and different on this cable. That earth ground, which is this element here, right, this prong, is earth grounded to the chassis. So it's not unsafe. However, we are going to change this for two reasons. One, I don't like this fraying that's going on here. And two, a well-meaning person can come in here and be like, oh my God, this is so unsafe, and reverse it, put the green to the chassis, which is probably the neutral, and we can check that. Put the green to the chassis and then move the black, and that could just be trouble. So the safest thing to do is to replace this AC cable. And this doesn't happen. I mean, I have seen this like one or two other times, but having an AC cable where black is ground is very uncommon. So safety, safety, safety. Ask a tech and check. Earth ground your chassis. Well, I'll tell you, it's kind of a lesson because I thought this was going to be an easy repair, and you know what? It's kind of never easy. There's always surprises. That's why your AM tech is probably usually pretty grumpy and broke. I'm just telling you. Just trust me on that one. These are very good quality capacitors, and they're quite expensive now. I don't like how they're in here. It's a little bit sloppy, so I think I'm going to want to suggest that we clean those up. I like the tube complement. This power transformer is dated 36th week of 1964. We got a 65 date code on the choke. And this is our output transformer, and that is a Schumacher made in 1965. Let's check the B plus voltage. 437, I like that. And let's check the current through the tubes real quick. Bias. This is just, I just want to get a bass line. We're not biasing the amp. I'm just curious. I don't like the waveform. We're going to do transformer shunt method, which I don't recommend to beginners. 10 milliamps on one tube, and the other is 11. So these tubes are pretty close, but that's really cold. Let me show you the waveform again, and then I'm going to bring it up a little bit. I'm going to do a quick bias adjustment. This is not the official final bias adjustment. It's just running way too cold. I'm just trying to get a baseline of everything, so I'm going to bring it up a little bit. Improves the waveform a little bit. I'm still not totally stoked on it, but it's a little bit better for now. So for me, the estimate process is pretty important, and you can't spend all day. So you make some best judgments. You really want to check out all the expensive components: tubes, transformers, filter caps. And I think here I'm going to give him 2 estimates. This is overall in pretty good shape, but I'm going to give him one estimate to get it going, get safe and reliable, and then a second estimate to kind of clean it up a little bit. You know, the work here is, you know, a little below mediocre. Do I think it's going to fail tomorrow on the client? No, I don't. But you know, it is a nice amp, and it would be best practice to kind of get it all into 100% shape. I actually see a solder glob right here. So on that, let's get started. So let me show you where we're at. Cleaned everything up. New AC cable, hard soldered. The center taps here were on a lug, which is okay, but I kind of prefer it, and it's best practice to put it hard soldered to the chassis. So I got out Big B, Big Bertha, hard soldered that, and then also fixed this ground here. And bent these screens up a little bit. They were kind of touching the feed wire and touching the chassis. The plate resistors for the phase inverter, these were actually way off. This 82 was way off, so I changed those, cleaned this up, and the cathode caps here have been replaced. Cleaned up this, new plates, new slope, new plates, new slope. Cleaned this up. I did change these 3 caps out. Wanted to put in some better stuff, and the high profile 600 volt caps was lifting this wire up too much, where they kind of extended it. So I think it looks a lot neater like that. It's going to be a little more reliable and moving along. Got our red label deoxit, and I'm going to spray a little bit into the octal sockets and the pre's too. And we're going to retension these octal sockets. I also like to wipe the excess off. Got my retensioning tool, which I made from a little flathead. You don't want to do much, just bend the tabs together ever so slightly. So the signal is looking a lot better. I've just biased this amp at around 63-64% plate dissipation. Customer supplied these tubes, so I didn't use the RCAs that came with it. I'm not crazy about the getter flash here, and I don't like, they weren't necessarily that mismatched when I tested the current, but the transconductance was way off. So once you really started digging into it, the waveform looked bad, and honestly the tubes kind of sounded a little lifeless. So it sounds way better now with these GEs that the customer supplied. All right, so I assembled it and I was gonna test it, and we have a new problem. The standby switch started to stick where it wasn't engaging, and now it's popping and crackling intermittently. So let's open it up, change that switch. All right, change the standby switch. Let's take a listen. There we go. That's what we want to hear. Nothing. All right, guys, let's test it out real quick. My elbow hurts, so I'm not going to play. Thank God. My buddy, he's going to play a little bit. Let's take a quick listen. 30 seconds. How about it?
Thank you.